I wanted to talk about Alexander Dugin, or I think it's pronounced Dugin, but we're going to say Dugin. And he's he's known as Putin's brain. And he used to be pro-Trump, and then that wore off as he slowly figured out that who Trump really is. Trump is a compromised Luciferian. That's the theme tonight, Luciferian. So Dugin is starting to create this image of like the Epsteiner class. Iran is using that as well. The West is being portrayed as this depraved, freak show of violence and targeting of children. And now the president of the United States is going to blockade the blockade. I don't even know what to do with that. Is it some sort of like grand Illuminati plan to literally shut off all the oil coming out of, that would be like the most Luciferian thing you could come up with, right? Because the only place where they talk about depopulation, for example, is in the West. Not so much in Europe, not in other nations, just the West. Like the elite, Western American elites, Bill Gates, Kamala Harris, everybody has this like secret formula, but we have to get into the dark, dark world of Peter Thiel again. It gets it gets worse, people. So I just pulled up Substack to just make sure I didn't miss any headlines before this came on. And okay, so we're going to talk about this woman, Dr. Heather Lynn, but she just posted something half an hour ago, and she said, Tucker Carlson called the president the Antichrist. The Vatican just requested an exorcist in every diocese on earth. Is it possible the world leaders are operating under an ancient demon? So we're going to do the Luciferians. The Luciferians, it's like a nice, casual, comfortable word to throw around. It's because we're all bogged down in like this problem, or like, are we all becoming anti-Semites and we all dislike Israel and its influence over the American president, blah, blah, blah. But that's sort of old hat. That was like a couple of years ago for me. Now we're really into this idea, like, is Trump mad, possessed? Yes. And so we're going to get into some heavy duty shit here about American history, because the religion of America, in my thinking, is that is not Christian. It's post-Christian. It's really anti-Christian. If you ever study, Washington went to an Episcopal church but never took communion. Thomas Jefferson hated Christianity. Abraham Lincoln hated Christianity. John Adams, who was a Reverend John Adams, said that Christianity had absolutely nothing to do with the formation of the United States or the Constitution. And so it's a tough subject. So, but just the basics of Lucifer. Lucifer used to be God's favorite angel, and he was fallen, and he's the Eastern Star. And Albert Pike refers to him as, or refers to Masonry as, quote, the pure religion of Lucifer. So the idea here is that Lucifer is enlightened. He's not bogged down with all this moral bullshit, right? He's enlightened. He sees through all the trivia and moral conundrums of like the Silicon Valley, as Alex Karp argues. He wrote a whole book about it called The Technological Republic. So now there's this woman who's way ahead of me on all this shit, named Dr. Heather Lynn. She's an anthropologist of all things. So instead of me pontificating on my literary knowledge of Lucifer, which would be fun, this is actually snowballing, getting worse. This is completely insane. We had the sit down in Pakistan. It lasted 21 hours. We have nothing. We're going to go completely insane and extort the people who have been extorted by Iran in the middle of the Indian Ocean. The plan to deal with the extortion is we're going to do the extortion. In other words, no one's allowed to be more powerful on earth than the American president. He's like a gangster out of control. I've been saying this for a while. He's like what's Nicky in Casino. It's just who can project the most violence against the rest of the world's population. That's where America is. Longer term, I think this leads to the default of the U.S. Treasury. Longer term, I think this means people will abandon American technology. France announced recently, for example, that they are going to transition their government. I think the Netherlands did the same thing. They're going to transition their government off of Microsoft and onto open source software. I don't think the NASDAQ has an investment thesis. If this is true, that the world is going to push away from us because of the heinousness of the Iran war, our reaction to it, our reaction to the closing of the Straits of Hormuz, we decide that now the U.S. Navy is going to close the Straits of Hormuz. No one else is allowed to close the Straits of Hormuz except us now. So we're going to blockade it. But don't go away. So you can go see this thing 37 minutes ago, Dr. Heather Lynn. I'm telling you, I read a lot of the same shit that Dugan does, Heidegger and Foucault and shit like that. This is better. This is actually, I think, will pull in some different people from different. So like Dugan and me want to read like the traditional, Eastern Orthodox and Catholic, and then later literature that reacts to the earlier Christian literature and stuff like that. It's not conservative in the American sense, but it's like old dead white men. You know what I mean? Our friend Dr. Heather Lynn here is like going all the way with it. Like it's better than anything I've read on the internet. I think the anthropology angle is actually very interesting. For example, look at this picture. Here's the picture she puts up to reference Trump as the Antichrist. Like, it's not like Motley Crue stuff, if you know what I mean. It's not like Baphomets and stuff. Like, there's something very scary about looking at this because we don't really know what this is or what this means or whatever. The Catholic Church is asking for exorcisms. I mean, I was going to do that as a joke one day, just say like, America needs an exorcism, like just to be goofy. But let me dig into this a little bit. I'm going to give you a chunk of this piece that I was reading this afternoon just to get you started and just to get the juices flowing. But while I'm finding it, there it is right there. I think what we're looking at here is not like we have this Luciferian thing that's the Western post-Enlightenment, post-Christian Western world, where people like Alex Carp, Peter Thiel, the Dark Enlightenment, what's that guy's name? They're just like, democracy doesn't work. Christianity is a plague, and people with the power to do so just need to completely take over. Like the Nazis didn't even talk like this. The Nazis, like, we're going to rescue Germany. We're going to protect it from the Versailles Treaty and stuff like. These people just want to launch into the heavens. These people are truly Luciferian. These rituals that we see in like the Epstein things, and you have to think about that. It's not Sinatra in the back of the casino with some pretty girls. That's not what this is. This is like ritualistic harvesting of people's energies and so forth. And what this woman does, this is what I'm really trying to get to. What this woman does is goes back and shows you that that's what ancient religion was. So, like in the more conservative versions of Christianity, you live the sacraments of Christ. Take this, all of you, and eat it. This is my body, and it will be given up for you. But this is like a very pagan thing. So this is, but I didn't know this. That Peter Thiel is running around having these meetings with billionaires and Tulsi Gabbard, Bobby Kennedy, people that I thought I liked, and now I'm actually like sort of spooked by all this, of how scary this is. These people are going right after the Catholic Church. That's why J.D. Vance converted and supposedly is a Catholic. They rightly see that the church is like a big obstacle to what they want to do. And I didn't know it was this bad. I thought there were just some fucking dorks in California that like played too much Dungeons and Dragons or something. No. This is very, very, very well thought out, controlled, constructed, to the point where they even intimidate the Pope. Now, somehow the forces that run the Catholic Church saw this coming. Now, I don't know that for a fact. I shouldn't say that. But they chose an American Pope, okay? But I didn't know this. Pope Leo was the man in charge of reviewing every applicant to be a bishop in the world before he became Pope. All their doctrines, all their public statements, their background information. He wasn't the inquisitor of like people walking down the street, but like to become a bishop, he was the last judge of whether or not they became a bishop. This quiet guy from Chicago who spent most of his life studying math and did his doctoral thesis in Rome at the same place that Peter Thiel just delivered his Antichrist speeches, at the same university, to stick it in their face. We're coming right after you. I just read this like a couple hours ago. I sort of knew it was like a little like back and forth. Anyways, so the popes, I always have to like do this like equivocation thing. Like I'm not just doing like a Catholic, like come back into the fold of the church. I think this is so heady that even a lot of people that don't want anything to do with organized religion or Christianity or the Catholic Church or the patriarchy and all this stuff, but to see why is Peter Thiel going after the Catholic Church? Do you see what I'm saying? So he's named after Leo XIII, who wrote something called Testem Benevolente Nostria, a papal letter, and this is 1899, directed specifically at American Catholics. It condemned what Leo XIII called the heresy of Americanism. The idea that American values of individual liberty and democratic self-determination should reshape Catholic doctrine. Leo XIII insisted that the Church's teaching authority could not be subordinated to any national culture, including the most powerful one on earth, the United States. By 1899, everybody could see that the United States was the most powerful nation on earth. And I'm going to guess that 50% of the cash flow of the Catholic Church was coming from America, from our giant Catholic cities, New York, Chicago, Boston. You get the joke. Hold on. The American Pope choosing the name who condemned Americanism is the choice that requires no decoder ring. This is Dr. Heather Lynn. It says, I am the Pope, not an American who happens to be Pope. My authority derives from the apostolic succession, not from the nation that produced me, and I will not be captured. Oh, the other thing I'd like to point out here is Dr. Heather Lynn has a very good writing style. People, this is scary, scary shit. Like, we're like in a kind of, I was going to do like Luciferianism versus traditionalism, but what this is really pointing out, this is even more. This is like Luciferianism, like as like an infidel operation against everybody. That's who Lucifer is. He's against God. He's against nature. He's against his fellow man. He's against the law. He's against tradition, culture, everything, right? But let's all calm down. I highly suggest that you go read this Tucker Carlson thing, because I don't know if this is some sort of grand plan that all these people, I'm the guy that right after Butler, and I was like, no, the President of the United States was not shot in the ear by a 223. And now it's finally coming out. There are people who are saying, no. If something goes by your ear at 3,200 feet per second, it creates cavitation. It literally like opens the air. That's why you hear that sonic bang, right? It would just open your ear right off. And I read that like 10 minutes after it happened by a Navy corpsman. He's a guy like, yeah, I pick up bodies that have been shot. There's no way that a bullet touched his ear. It would probably knock you out. Or the concussion, it's one of the best places that MMA that they hit you is right around your ear. There's all this like nerves and the air, and you get the picture. I don't have to go on and on about it. Trump was not shot in the fucking ear. And everybody, the reason I can't find it is because I have it open. Everybody that's ever shot a high-powered rifle knows that. But we all turn on cable TV and the pretty girls on MSNBC and the porn stars on Fox News and the insurance commercials and the goddamn emu. And within an hour of that, somehow your brain turns to mush. And you go, did you know that Trump was almost assassinated today? Yeah, he was shot and they let him jump back up and do a pump fist. Really, the Secret Service let the President of the United States jump back up on top of the stage. I mean, none of it makes any fucking sense. None of it. But once the Geico commercial, Fox News porn star thing gets going in your brain, anything's possible. I think I have to click out of that. Okay, here it is. So she published this yesterday morning at about 10 o'clock. It's called The Antichrist Lectures. So it looks like this. If you find this, you're on the right track. Okay. Now, it's not really good business for me to sit and basically read this to you, but I just want to point out a couple things. She opens up with this thing of the people from the Pentagon meeting with, who are they meeting with? Cardinal Christophe Pierre hold on. January 26th, I'm sorry, I'm going to read it to you. Secretary of Defense for Policy Elbridge Colby summoned Cardinal Christophe Pierre to the Pentagon. Pierre was Pope Leo XIV's ambassador to the United States. What followed was a lecture from a Pentagon official to the Pope's ambassador. The United States, Colby and his colleagues, maybe I'll just read like the first couple paragraphs and you can go do the rest of it yourself. It is Sunday night and there's better things to do than listen to me. The United States, Colby and his colleagues told the Cardinal, the United States, Colby and his colleagues told the Cardinal, has the military power to do whatever it wants in the world. Luciferian. The Catholic Church had better take its side. Or what? As the temperature in the room rose, the U.S. official reached for a weapon that was 700 years old. He invoked the Avignon papacy. For anyone outside the Catholic world, that reference might sound like an obscure historical footnote. Inside the Vatican, it landed as a declaration of war in 1303. King Philip of France sent agents to physically attack Pope Boniface. The Pope was beaten, humiliated, and died shortly thereafter. These people are weird. These are weirdos running the United States. And then you wake up and you're like, oh, so they're doing that thing in Pakistan. I wonder what happened. And 21 hours later, the whole fucking thing is over. And then Trump comes out with his just absurdities and says, we're going to blockade the blockade. First of all, there's not a blockade going on. Iran is in charge of what's going in and out, and they're clearing the transactions with crypto. Imagine that on Ethereum. And they're using not mines so much because nobody knows where the mines are because they can be pushed around by the ocean, but by those little wedgy plywood things that are just floating around that area, and just at any minute a ship gets out of line and moves when it's not told to. They just boom. The Vatican was so alarmed that Pope Leo XIV canceled plans to visit the United States. The first American pope in history will instead spend July 4th, 2026, America's 250th birthday, on the island of Lampedusa, where North African refugees wash up ashore by the thousands. Okay, I should just sort of crunch this right here, but this is all based on Peter Thiel's interaction with a French philosopher, a literary theorist at Stanford. And it goes like this. I'll try to, like I always do, I'll try to like dumb it down. Not dumb it down, that's not the right words, but try to make it like not sound like a philosophy seminar. So Girard believes that we don't have any natural human connection to the world, things we want, care for children, care for loved ones, care for someone we're in love with or sexually attracted to. That's not how it works. Everything is mimetic. Everything is basically jealousy. The only reason you want a Land Rover is because you saw somebody who you know makes more money than you, so therefore you want a Land Rover. Land Rovers are a piece of shit. Everybody knows that. But they're still cool looking, and only really rich people can buy them because only really, really, really rich people can afford to fix them. So you want a Land Rover too because you can't have it. That's what their thing is based on. If I had to give another literary reference to it, it's the worldview of Iago, Othello's sidekick, who has more lines than any other character in Shakespeare. And he sets on Othello and tries to destroy his relationship with what's her name, and Othello's too dumb to see it. So Peter Thiel, the guy who bought J.D. Vance, who bought Trump back into the thing, who started Palantir. Palantir is now murdering children with Lavender and Mythos, I think it's called, and all these different software operations, just killing people. It's a lot like Iago. It's a lot like a Shakespeare villain, and no one knows why these people do this. Well, his worldview is that there's no real genuine affection between anybody. And therefore, hold on. This is where she's really good at this. So she goes on, again, I'll try to introduce it to you, not just read it to you, because that's sort of annoying and a little bit plagiaristic. She goes into this thing, I've never heard this before, but when you go through catechism as a Catholic, you're sort of taught this, that, yeah, like the whole body and blood of Christ thing is sort of like a pagan ritual. It's like Dionysus and the wine. And then, so anyways, they have this thing that with Christ took away the scapegoat. I've never heard this before. I've never heard this before. Like, I'm still Christ took away the scapegoat. There's no reason to, like, blame a certain person and execute them or publicly humiliate them, or even a scapegoat where we're gonna, like, appease the gods by, like, killing a goat or something like that, right? Which is sort of ubiquitous throughout human history. People sacrifice things. Even you go to a mall and you throw your change in your thing into a thing, and that came from the Celtics. They would throw, like, gold and silver and shit into a spring. You get the idea. Peter Thiel Peter Thiel is going right after the Catholic religion, the Christian religion, the the uh, crucifixion, because it takes away the scapegoat of, I'm pissed off that I don't have a Land Rover, so I want to go get somebody and hurt them. And that's how we therefore build society. And Christianity has fucked this all up. And we need to bring this back. Now, just let your juices in your brain flow around for a minute. Now you know why they blew up 180 girls with a Tomahawk missile. These people are fucking weirdos. This isn't something that, like, went off track or the software malfunctioned or something. This is what they believe in. It's even weirder than Epstein. I mean, you get it. Like, you can have any woman you want, call girls and stuff since you're 15, and it just keeps getting weirder and weirder. And then you get to 15-year-old girls like Jimmy Page, and that's not enough. Then you go weirder and weirder, and just you can't feed that beast, right? This isn't what we're talking about here. These people really are going right after the Christian faith, the sacraments, the Pope, the Vatican, as much as they're going after the Ayatollah. The Gospels tell the story of the crucifixion from the perspective of the victim. They reveal that the scapegoat is innocent, right? He's the Lamb of God. Christ is the Lamb of God. Unblemished, never sinned, tempted but never sinned. Once that revelation enters a culture, it gradually undermines every institution built on concealed sacrificial violence. Because people can no longer participate in the scapegoat mechanism with a clear conscience. Then she wrote this thing, I think I skimmed it or just looked at the first paragraph. Bow, blood, and bread. I'm telling you, this woman is, like, crushing it. The sacrificial economy, the priesthood that manages the violence, the intermediary that extracts order from chaos by channeling collective energy into the designated victim. Girard gave the academic framework to what the ancient world encoded as theology. This is when I put my Palantir hat on. Thiel has described Christianity as the prism with which I look at the whole world. He has been speaking publicly about the Antichrist with increasing frequency and urgency since at least 2024. His position, drawn directly from Girard, is that Christianity's exposure of the scapegoat mechanism has been destabilizing civilization for 2,000 years. Now, to those of us on the other side of that, we go, no, that's what the whole thing was about. It wasn't just Christ takes away the sins of the world because you looked at somebody's tits or something. Is that we have this really dark energy, this original sin thing. We're jealous and we're nasty, and we are shitty to our neighbors, and not our neighbors, but to the other, right? Well, they want to bring all this back. This is why we're doing war for its own sake. You see how scary this is? The The Antichrist in Thiel's framework is the figure or system that offers to restabilize civilization by providing a new form of unity, one that doesn't rely on the now exposed and failing sacrificial mechanisms. The Antichrist offers peace through technology, through consensus, through the elimination of conflict, and people accept it because the old institutions have already been hollowed out. So Peter Thiel is the new pope of the Antichrist. I just said that. That's not in the article, but that's what this is sort of driving to. Christianity's unraveling of our culture. Now, you've heard me go on and on and on, almost to the point of nausea, about evangelical Christianity. And this is so bad. This is like a guy who's like, Christianity's the problem. Like, even beyond like the Muslims, we've heard for 25 years that the Muslims want to put something under our ass and blow us all up everywhere. There's just Muslims everywhere. They're just falling out of the clouds, blowing things up, setting their shoes on fire in the planes and all this. None of it's true, of course. But now we're going into the complete whack job where we're going to go after Christianity. They just closed the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. He hosts an event called the Hereticon, like heresy, like heretic. By the way, Bruno's a heretic. He was burnt by the Catholic Church in 1600. And that human evil follows algorithmic patterns. This isn't just Facebook showing some pictures of fat girls to depress teenagers, to make them more depressed so they spend more time on Facebook. It's sort of part of it, but this is this gone full Monty. So think about, like, not Antichrist, but think like the antithesis. What they're pointing out. This is why I do these goofy things on Sunday, because you can see who's the most evil because they're the ones that want to go after Christ. The lectures were initially supposed to be held at the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas, known colloquially as the Angelicum. This is one of the most prestigious pontifical universities in Rome. It is also where a young Augustinian priest named Robert Francis Prevost studied for his doctoral thesis in canon law. Robert Francis Prevost is now Pope Leo XIV. Peter Thiel went to the Pope's university to give this fucking lecture. Okay, I've talked about this a little bit. It goes back and reviews why Leo took the name of Leo XIV, took the name of Leo XIII. You should really, if you have like some socialist ideas, if you have like raw meat capitalist ideas, you should know that the Pope from 1878 to 1903 wrote an encyclical about the church's role in rejection of capitalism. The Catholic Church rejects everything. The Catholic Church rejects capitalism and rejects socialism. It's like everybody hates Chris. Like, everybody, the weirder you are, the more likely you are to hate the Catholic Church. That's what I'm getting at today. And then I just read the thing about Americanism. And in order to come to these lectures, you have to donate between 100,000 and 1,000,000. 200. I mean, there truly is an antichrist cabal of about 250 members paying $100,000 at the spring conference at the Four Seasons in Nashville. Um, what we are witnessing is a contest between two institutions, each claiming spiritual authority for the age of artificial intelligence. Actually, as crazy as this is, now when I read it, I go, huh, maybe there's a reason why I've been making content on Gog and Magog. Girard, this is the French philosopher at Stanford that Peter Thiel studied with. Girard's framework suggests that the Antichrist is a system, not a person. It is whatever offers to restabilize civilization through the elimination of conflict, through technological peace, through the management of human desire by algorithmic means. It is the thing that says you no longer need to suffer, you no longer need to choose, you no longer need to be free. We will optimize you. Like, that paragraph is like Milton talking about Satan or something. It's like, it's absolute perfection of like the voice of Lucifer. And she finishes with like, who comes up with this line? Like, I wish I could come up with shit. The old temple has recognized the threat. The new temple, that's Thiel, has recognized the opportunity. The contest between them will define the century. And then a wonderful bibliography. She's the real fucking deal. And then there's the one with Tucker with the I think there was something like this in The Exorcist. Remember that? There was I think they went to Egypt or something to like study what was going on, and I think there was an image like this. So tomorrow when we wake up, the U.S. Navy is going to blockade. So just to be clear, 6 or 7 weeks ago, the President of the United States maintained the pinch point that 20-25% of aluminum, fertilizer, helium, gallium, sulfur, and of course, oil and gas passes through. So now we attack people that we can't really beat. So now to get revenge on the revenge, we're going to blockade the blockade. There's not a blockade. It's Iran is in charge of the Straits of Hormuz. So our response is to blockade. You're not allowed to use this word because it's literally illegal to use the phrase boycott, divest, sanction. I think what this could lead to is a BDS movement around the world aimed at the United States. And as crazy as it sounds, if you read the book of Revelation, it says the great city, the great smoking city, which sounds exactly like 9/11, that controls world trade, will eventually be boycotted by the rest of the world, and they will refuse to trade with it. I'm not making this up. I didn't know this till like a month ago I'm like, it just keeps getting weirder and weirder. So I go, okay, I guess you have to do the book of Revelation. So I spent a couple of days studying the book of Revelation. And while I'm doing it, I feel like a weirdo. And then this shit is happening. And then you sort of go, well, there's got to be like some Illuminati thing. They're going to divide this thing up, and the oil is going to go this way, and the gas is going to go. We're going to blockade the fucking Straits of Hormuz. We're going to have no allies. We're going to have absolutely no allies. We are going to be as hated as Israel. So we did some things yesterday, and for people who want to be partners or want to be members of the Public Benefit Corporation, we have a nice young man named Muhammad Ali, seriously. So his handle, not his handle, but his email is Ali at myteams.co, not com, co. Ali at myteams.co. So if you're just listening and you're like, dude, I don't know where you're really going with all this, let me leave you with this late Sunday night. If you see people doing evil, which this is evil, you can try to stop it. I don't know how we try to stop this. I don't think AOC can stop the Antichrist. It's sort of funny and sort of not. Well, what do? Do you do nothing? And that's part of the fun, right? Part of the absurdity of Trump. Loser Iran. The war was over the hour it began. I'm like, Trump is getting crushed. But what he does is like, he always projects like, you're going to blockade it? No, I'm going to blockade it more than you blockade it. My blockade has bigger hands than your blockade. But the more interesting thing to do is to go do something out. The whole thing, the stock market, the private equity bullshit, the banks, the $2.2 trillion in student loans, the whole fucking nightmare of what America's become. You can just sit there sort of paralyzed. My gig has always been, no, go do something that's positive. Don't just get paralyzed by the Satanism. Like, go do something different. Go do something good. What do you mean? I don't know. Ugh. Just the act of the best way to resist these people is to go act without them, not reacting to them, because they sort of want that. They sort of want you to go to these big protests and no kings and all that bullshit. It accomplishes nothing. What they don't ever expect you to do is to just go live your own life and get away from them. The narcissism of these people is unlimited. That's what Luciferianism really is. It's like a metaphysical narcissism. It's a narcissism that doesn't even recognize that other humans even exist. That's what the whole Gerard thing is. No. The reason you want things isn't because you really want them or you care about people. Your whole soul is nothing but jealousy. That's who's running the algorithms, people. Their version of AI is... Who's the young guy on? I haven't seen him in a long time because I got off TikTok. The young guy in Cincinnati, I think it was. But he made this tremendous video one like Friday night, and he said, these AI algorithms are trying to get control of your soul. That's what I just read to you. Like, in other words, I heard this first from the AI people. Super intelligent AI. He said, we have to get back to team human. And I'm like, what are they talking about? I mean, I know that like TikTok is playing with your brain all the time, right? But they're just not showing you more cat videos or dancing girls or, whatever it is you want to look at. They're actually the algorithm is reading your psychology, Learning to know you better than you know you, pure Luciferian, and then twisting. I mean, people have committed suicide because of it. You need to take the technology. We have it. It's Agent Hub. And go read Omar. He's on Substack. He's done great work. Go grab their technology and do what you want to do with it. Have a nice night.